What's up guys, this is Game and Hack, and today we're going to be taking a look at using conditioning statements with a couple of things that we're going to combine from our last video, such as user inputs, and we're going to create a calculator at the end. And today's going to be kind of a special video because we're not going to be using Python IDLE, even though that's perfectly fine to use. I'm going to be using something called Sublime Text 3. It kind of makes writing code a little bit more efficient. So if you guys want to go ahead and actually follow along, you guys could follow me right now. But if you guys don't want to use Sublime Text 3, it's okay. You guys could go ahead and skip to this timestamp. So first, we gotta go and open up Chrome or whatever browser you have. You gotta search up Sublime Text 3. Now we gotta go to their official website, which is right here. And for Mac users, you gotta download this, Windows users, and so on and so forth. But it's a very simple process to download, but because I've already actually downloaded Sublime Text 3, I'm not going to do that. So when you go ahead and actually open it up, this is what you're going to see. We have to do a couple things to Sublime Text 3 to make it actually start working with Python. So we got to press Control-Shift-P, and here we're going to type in install package, and we just got to click on this right here. So now we're going to go ahead and press Control-Shift-P. We're going to type in package control. And we're going to go to install packages. And here we're going to type in Sublime REPL. The first one is right here, Sublime REPL. So we're going to go to preferences. Now we have to go to browse. And here from here, we're going to go to Sublime/REPL. That's this one. Then we're going to go to config. And we have to find Python. Okay, now we're going to drag main.sublime menu into our editor. And here, I will go ahead and leave this in the description below. So we're going to go ahead and change this. So I could go ahead and actually copy this. And I'm going to open up Sublime again. We're going to type in Control F, and we're going to search this up. And here it is. And we're going to go here. We're going to type in that. Or actually, we could just go ahead and actually see that we're just going to type in quotation marks, -I, comma. So we just got to do that. Quotation marks, -I, comma. And now what we got to do is save this by pressing Control S. Now we're going to close this. Now we're going to go to Tools, Build System, New Build System, and we're going to delete all this. And I'll leave this down in the description below. We're going to copy this. We're going to go ahead and put this here. And we're going to save this. And we're going to also save this as this right here. We're going to click on save, and we're ready to go. So now what we got to do is go to Tools, we got to go to Build System, and we got to make sure that we choose Python. If you guys didn't see that, it's right here. So we got to choose Sublime REPL.python. We're going to go ahead and make a new file. We're going to go to File, New File. We're going to save this file on our desktop, and we're going to call this calculator, like that. And we're going to make sure that we type in .py to make sure it's a Python file. And we're going to click on save. So now when we go ahead and print hi, and we're going to hit Control B to run, we'll see it prints hi. We are going to go ahead and delete print hi. So we're going to use what we learned last time, and it's just getting an operation or getting input from the user, such as like writing operation is equal to input brackets, and then we could ask the question here. So what is your operation? Okay, and this would work. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and actually show you guys the if statement and Alif and else. So we could go ahead and write x is equal to 10, And then we could go and write y is equal to 5. And now when we go ahead and write if x is bigger than y, then we're going to print x is bigger than y. So what we're doing here is just checking if x, which is 10, is bigger than y, and if that's true, then it's going to do this, which we know is correct because that's the same as writing 10. If 10 is bigger than 5, then print x is bigger than y. And if you guys are wondering, we have to put this right here, this little thing right here. I'll zoom in. Once we add this, this will indicate anything that's indented or in the indentation of the if statement, it will take place. So if I write print this, and then we could also write print maybe the value of x, and then we could just pass x there, and then that's it. And then at the end we could just write print, that's the code. So now when we run this, it's gonna go ahead and print. So I'm gonna substitute this again. So it's gonna go ahead and print this line, then it's gonna print this line, and after that it's finally gonna print this line. So let's run this. It's gonna say x is bigger than y, the value of x is 10, and that is the code. So what we could go ahead and actually do is now change the sign, so we could say that if y is bigger than x, which we know is not correct, it's gonna do this. So in our scenario, this is not gonna print, it's only gonna print this line of code. So when we go ahead and run this, it's gonna say that is the code, and that is this line right here. So if we go ahead and actually indent this like that, and then we run the code, we'll see nothing prints because there is nothing else that's happening after this for if loop. So only thing that we're checking is if x is bigger than y. So let's change this back to maybe if x is bigger than y, and we're going to make something called Alif, or we'll start with else. So if that's not true, then we'll go ahead and print that y is smaller than x. So, or we actually, wait, no, we could go ahead and actually write that x is smaller than y. So what we're checking here is checking if x is bigger than y, then do this. But if it's not, so else, then write this, because we know that if x is not bigger than y, then x has to be smaller than y. So when we go ahead and run this, we could see that it's gonna write this, and that is this right here, print x is this. But let's go ahead and change the value of y to 15, and now when we go and run this, it's going to say x is smaller than y. Okay, and now what we're going to go ahead and learn is something called Alif. So it's spelled like E-L-I-F, and it's the combination of else and if. So when we're here and we're trying to compare something for else, we can't write else x is this and this, right? This is not going to work. It's going to give us an error. But if we want to pass a conditioning statement within the else statement, then we have to do this. So we're going to write if x is equal to y, then we're going to go ahead and print x is the same as y. So now we're checking if x is bigger than y, and if that's not true, then if that's true, then it's gonna print this. So if x is larger than y, if it's bigger than y, then it's gonna print this. If it's not bigger than y, then it's gonna print this, and if it's equal to y, it will print this. So let's give the same values. So we can see that x is the same as y, and now let's change y to be smaller than x. And we could see that x is bigger than y, and then finally we could increase the value of y to 15, and we can see x is smaller than y. So now we're going to create a calculator, because we have learned everything necessary to actually make a calculator. So first what we're going to do is get a user input. So I'm just going to make comments. You guys do not have to do this, but for you guys, I will quickly make this. So we have user inputs, and then we're gonna write operation. So we're just checking what operation. So we're gonna ask the user input, and we're gonna ask what operation would you like to use? And then in the brackets we could pass maybe addition, sub for subtraction, and then mul for multiplication, and then div for division. So now I'm gonna quickly zoom out like that so I can capture everything, and we're gonna go ahead and write if operation, I'm gonna go ahead and write if operation is equal to, and if we're checking if operation is equal to words, so such as add, sub, or multiply, divide, we have to use these quotation marks because we're checking if it's a string. Because if we just write this, so I'll just give you guys an example. So we could write add, then we're gonna print adding. So when we go ahead and write this, it's gonna say, hold up, add, it's gonna give us an error. So when we go back and put this in quotation marks like that, we're gonna run this, it's gonna say adding. So we have to pass or put add in quotation marks. We will now get more input. We're gonna get the first number that the user is gonna input, so we'll call this number 1, and we're gonna take this as an integer, so we'll write int input, and we'll ask enter your first number, and we'll add a space at the end, and we're gonna write num2 is equal to int input, and we'll write enter your second number. We have to write first here like that, and now we're gonna go ahead and print num1 plus num2. So when we write add, we're gonna type in our first number, which we could write 25 and 5, and this is gonna give us the value of 30. So now that we have addition working, we could start writing the code for subtraction. So we gotta write Alif operation is equal to, we're gonna write sub for subtraction, and then we could copy the exact same code here. But if you guys are beginners, I do recommend you guys going ahead and writing it line for line, just as that way you guys have practice with writing in Python. So we're gonna go ahead and change this to a minus sign. We're gonna write that, we're gonna copy this whole thing this time and paste it, and we're gonna change this to mul for multiply, and we're gonna change it to this like that. And finally, we are gonna add division, which is div, which is up here. Let's see, div, and we're gonna change this to divide, like that. So now when we go ahead and run this, we're gonna write maybe div for divide, and it's gonna ask us to write our first number, which would be 100, and the second number would be 10, and it'll give us 10.0, and we know that's working. What if the user typed in maybe IDK or like I don't know, so nothing happens, the user won't know what just happened, right? So let's create another line of text just to tell the user that they typed in the wrong thing or like a wrong answer. So we could type in else, and then we could just type in print error. So what's happening here is that we're checking if the user typed in add, then we're checking if he typed in sub, or then we're checking if he typed in mul, and then we're checking if he typed in div. If you never typed any of these in, then our code will go ahead and actually assume that the user typed in something wrong, and it'll tell the user that there's an error. And we could also tell the user to try again. So we'll write that. So now when we go ahead and run this, we're gonna type in IDK, and it's going to say error, try again. So let's say if the user did not read sub, mul, or div. So what if they type in subtract, multiply, or divide? We could go ahead and write or, and then we could write operation equal to, like that. And we could write subtract. And now this way, if the user types in subtract or sub, our code will know. So when we go ahead and run this, and we're going to write subtract, first number we'll write 10, or second number we'll write 4, it'll give us 6. So we're also checking if the user is typing in sub or subtract, and we could go ahead and actually apply this into rest of our lines of code. I will go ahead and quickly time lapse this. Okay, and you guys could keep doing this for as many times as you guys want. So let's assume that the user types in M capitalized. So then you guys can write or operation is equal to, and you guys can write the same thing again. We could write multiply like that, just changing the M to a capital like that. So this way that user can type in more things, and he'll still get the right answer. Oh, okay, so another thing I just realized is that I wrote the wrong thing here. So you guys just want to always double check that you're typing in the right things. And now when we go ahead and run this, we could ask the user, and let's say we choose divide. We could type in, we'll type in like 3123, and we could type in 3, and that's the answer, 1041. So you guys have now successfully created your own calculator